A legendary weekend in the Lou. PGA Tour champions compete in the Stifel Charity Classic, presented by Compliant Solutions, September 4th through 7th, and COAR. Perform live with your Friday ticket. Visit StifelCharityClassic.com today.
Again tonight alongside Ethan Hannaford. The Birds falling short in a second game match up against Colorado by a final score of 3-0. They'll wrap it up tomorrow with an afternoon matinee against the Rockies at 1:15, I believe, first pitch. But the Birds bats just silenced tonight. The offense not getting it done. Where have the bats gone? Maybe that's going to be their new theme song. They got to pick it up, but not exactly what we were hoping for tonight, Ethan. 4 innings out of Libby out there, and just not exactly what we were thought in regards to depth after seeing Michaelis go 7+ innings last night. And of course, facing a lefty and Kyle Freeland, just absolutely phenomenal for the Rockies tonight.
Yeah, a frustrating evening, no doubt, for St. Louis. They'd been trending in the right direction, having won 5 out of 7. You win a couple of big series, and then last night's win, a great come from behind win. Unfortunately, tonight, the bats just they didn't show. The results weren't there. The approach, it seemed, wasn't bad. They made a lot of hard contact tonight, but at the end of the day, if you aren't able to put it into run production, then how much does it really matter? I think the Cardinals had 13 balls put in play tonight that were 99 miles per hour or harder. So like I said, it's not that they weren't making contact, but their inability to hit with scoring runners in scoring position during this series, and especially tonight, was one of the big reasons that they lost. Matthew commenting here saying 3 double plays. Those are rally killers. And tonight, unfortunately, in multiple scenarios, the Cardinals felt like the life was sucked out of the offense due to the double plays. So definitely disappointing to not see them continue to carry on in the right direction. I will say this, while you would have liked to sweep the Rockies, sweeping any team in baseball, even the worst team in baseball, is not easy. So if the Cardinals can walk away tomorrow with 2 out of 3, I still think that's a positive. That's at that point 6 out of 9. Still moving in the right direction. Would have liked to come away with a win tonight. I'm more concerned about Matthew Liberatore after tonight's start than I am about the quiet offense, because I think the offense has looked pretty good over the past, or since the trade deadline, I should say. But there's going to be plenty of time to discuss all of that.
So let's go ahead and tackle Libby just for a second, because you did mention some concerns there. He did go 4 innings, giving up 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 of which were earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. And of course, that was a 2-run shot that put the Rockies on the boards, and the Cardinals trailing once again. But only 4 innings. We have wanted some depth out of the starting pitching rotation, right? And we've gotten it at points. We know that the talent is there, the arm strength is there, but tonight we didn't see that after such a promising night last night out of Miles Michaelis.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Matthew Liberatore, I mean, this is now 4 outings in a row, I believe, where he hasn't been able to get out of the 5th inning. That is a concern. I mean, you look at his season now as a whole, and it has continued to, in large part, trend in the wrong direction. And that is a concern. Let's see. The last time that Matthew Liberatore was able to pitch through 5 innings was on July 5th at Wrigley Field. That was a long time ago. We're moving into we're now at 5 weeks since that happened. And there's some comments in the chat talking about things imploding on Libby once something goes bad. Dalton commenting saying Libby gives up 1 hit and just implodes. It's time to call it a year for him. He's done. Mason Windu saying they're going to shut Libby down. A couple of other comments in there in the mix as well. I thought Matthew Liberatore looked good in his first 3 innings of work. The velocity was there, was touching 95 on the fastball. He gives up the home run to Hunter Goodman, which, by the way, holy cow, what a bomb. 112 off the bat.
Yeah, 442 feet or something.
The longest home run hit at Busch Stadium this year by just a couple of feet, but still pretty impressive there from Hunter Goodman, who is having one heck of a season, been one of the very few bright spots for the Colorado Rockies in 2025. They have something building there at the catcher position with him. But yeah, after that, the Cardinals, Liberatore continued to trend in the wrong direction, was way more efficient in those first 3 innings. If you break it down inning by inning, 13, 15, and 11 pitches. I was looking at Freeland's 18, 17, and 10 through the first 3 innings. So much better than 21 in the 4th inning, and then 26 in the 5th inning combined as a total. Not all those were Liberators, but he wasn't able to record an out. In the final 2, I believe, 8 pitches thrown, so 26, 28, so 18 pitches thrown in the 5th inning, and he wasn't able to record an out. Sorry, I had to do some quick math there. And yeah, so Matthew Liberatore, the stuff was not sharp tonight overall. You look up, pulled up his baseball savant pitch chart tonight, and when I look at this, it's the stuff at the top that concerns me, because when a guy is throwing that much high in the zone like that, it tends to mean he's not finishing his pitches, which means that which there's obviously a couple different reasons that could happen, but one area that you do tend to see that sometimes is when a guy is tired, when he's fatigued.
I was just going to say, yeah,
fully finish his pitches, and I see a lot of pitches up at both the top of the zone. You look at the Goodman pitch, that was a changeup. And that changeup was middle in, but it was upper middle in as well. It was nowhere close to where it was meant to be executed, where exactly Matthew's saying here, the release point. That's a concerning sign for me when I look at Matthew Liberatore. Like I said, 4 starts in a row now where he's not able to get through 5 innings. I'm not sure if they're going to fully jump on shutting him down quite yet, but I think it is clear that Matthew Liberatore could use another round through the rotation with them skipping a start, because he just looks gassed. I mean, the velo on the fastball dropped to 91, 92 after the home run given up to Goodman consistently was in that range. Obviously not a good sign. Matthew Liberatore, yes, the season is all about runway, but it feels like you're starting to get to the point with him where you may be beginning to do more damage than you would be benefit by allowing him to work through this stuff, because it seems like at this point it's becoming physical fatigue. It's been that, we know that. That's why he got that. That's why they skipped his start. Was it at the start of I think it was at the start of the second half. So if I'm the Cardinals, I think this one, if they weren't already, the red sirens, the red flags for Liberatore are starting to wave and go on and off a little bit. I think the Cardinals should skip his next start, and if things continue to trend in the wrong direction following that, I think you may have to consider shutting him down.
So you said exactly the right thing there. It was the All-Star break. They gave him some rest, and they gave him that first start off to give him some additional rest for his arm. But like you said, when you see stuff high and outside the strike zone there, you've got some overthrowing mechanical issues, maybe some misalignment, their grip or release point problems. And like you said, fatigue or loss of command. I think the loss of command really showed there. I mean, even when a lot of the pitches, the 4-seam fastball, majority were high and then outside, and that would be one that you would think he would have the most command, especially early on in the game, just to put it where he needs to in the catching position. So definitely concerns there with Libby. However, the bullpen, absolutely stellar. Once again, tonight, you had Swanson, Fernandez. Last time Fernandez went 3 innings against Chicago with 4 strikeouts. He looked solid once again tonight for the Cardinals. And that's a spot that we've kind of also been concerned about when it comes to pitching, because the first half of the year, there were some definite bullpen issues there, and we couldn't quite figure it out for the Cardinals.
Yeah, early in the year, there were some bullpen issues in April, but they figured that out. It felt like relatively quickly. I know Helsley had some issues here and there, but in large part, the bullpen has been one of the strengths of this team this year. And the bullpen, once again, was sharp today for the Cardinals. You know, if you want to take a positive away from this game, the bullpen continues to do their thing. As I pull up the box score here, So Liberatore throws 4+. Matt Swanson comes in, 3 innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. I tell you what, there's still plenty of positives as far as individual pieces of this
Agreed.
Cardinals team that you could take away by year's end and say, well, I really like the way that guy performed to end out the season. I liked how this guy performed. Matt Swanson has stepped up in a huge way. Small sample size as far as being in consistent high leverage spots, but Matt Swanson has looked very sharp during his time up in the majors this season, especially here over the past month or so. I really like what I'm seeing out of him. We saw for the first time tonight in a Cardinal uniform out on the bump, Jorge Alcala. Thought he looked pretty good in his inning of relief. Looked really good with Boston, a guy that the Cardinals claimed off of waivers last week. Looked really good in large part in Boston, and prior to that, had some serious struggles in Minnesota. So this guy has a lot of high velo quality stuff. I like the Cardinals taking a chance on him. Why not at this point? See if you can find anything in him. There's plenty of opportunity going around in that bullpen. Why not throw another guy in the mix? And Ryan Fernandez also looked good tonight, striking out the side in the 9th inning. So encouraging signs there. A lot of people talking about this being time for the Cardinals that were spinning things and trying to find positives. I'm not saying that tonight was excusable. The Cardinals lost. Disappointing? Absolutely, yes. No doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that every single aspect of the game was terrible. If that's how you approach the season, if that's how you approach every single game, then you are setting yourself up for failure. It is a game of failure. So I understand fans' frustration. I get why people are PO'd. Anytime you get shut out twice in a season by the worst team in baseball history, yeah, that's not a good way to go down in the history books. No one is advocating that it is. Comment here. Oh, excuse me, wrong. Comment here saying Ollie whining on postgame about how unlucky they were on offense tonight. Basically said the Rockies pitchers were lucky. I haven't been able to hear Ollie Marmol's comments up to this point, but I will say this. I said it earlier. The Cardinals had 13 balls put in play tonight that were hit 99 plus miles per hour. Yes, at the end of the day, you have to find a way to score runs and to manufacture runs. I also said it earlier. The biggest issue tonight was the lack of production with runs in scoring position. But to assume that every single part of this game was poor or terrible is a ridiculous and to be quite frank, stupid way to look at it. So
yeah, especially with 162 games a season. I agree with you. I mean, the season's long. It's not like football where you have 16 games. You have so much contention and so much competition that you have to try and to keep an upbeat momentum with some of the positives. Now, granted, I know Cardinal Nation isn't used to what this organization has done this year. So the frustration, like you agreed with, it's there. It's understandable. But taking away some of the positives, you have to. Otherwise, you're just going to be down a black hole and never come out, right? I mean,
the season is, and we know that the Cardinals season has been frustrating at times, but it's not like the expectation going in was that this team was going to be a world beater. It's an extremely young team. It has been all year. You knew there was going to be some bumps in the road throughout the year. If the Cardinals win this series tomorrow, are people really looking at this series and saying, we took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies? That's unacceptable. Are they? I'm not, because sweeping teams in baseball is hard no matter who it is. So obviously they have to win tomorrow. If they don't, then it's an entirely different conversation. But I get people are frustrated, but just because the final score doesn't go the way you want it to does not mean that there isn't a single positive thing that you can't take away from a night.
Right. So Michael was talking about Victor Scott having some good at-bats tonight. Once again, talking about his speed last night. He had a stellar night with base running and stole his 31st base of the season, which I think they said was the most since 2000. So he's definitely got some perks there for showing some display of talent. Gorman just missed that leadoff home run here at the base of the wall. It ended up being a double, but that showed some power, a little bit of presence there. And also last night, Lars Nootbaar hit behind the knee with a contusion. Contreras hit by a pitch again tonight. I believe it was his 18th hit by a pitch this season. And then, of course, didn't return to the game at first base after being hit on the foot there. So you said that the x-rays came back negative. I didn't quite hear that part, so I was leaning on you for that. But again, just concern there. I mean, he's been hit quite a few times, and, the last thing we need is the Birds getting bruised up more than they already are.
I believe that I heard that, confirming that here, making sure. I'll make sure and confirm that. Okay. I thought that I saw that somewhere, which obviously would be a good sign, because you talk about an impactful guy for the Cardinals, Wilson Contreras. I mean, he's about as important as it comes for this lineup. They are saying a right foot contusion. I'm trying to quickly find. I apologize here to see if they did have X-rays on it. Yes, they did X-rays. No structural damage, which is a good sign. So, we'll see if he ends up having the day off tomorrow. If he does, then he has back-to-back days off with the off day on Thursday. So it would not surprise me if they did, but he's the kind of guy that if he can play, he's going to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day. Of course, the rain came in and delayed the game by 41 minutes today, but watching baseball, and the simplest way to get into action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less of the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Right, of course, the Rockies once again snapping their 8-game losing streak, beating the Cardinals tonight by a final score of 3-0. Tomorrow, the series wraps up at Busch Stadium with a 1:15 first pitch, and McGreevy is on the bump, currently looking at a 4-2 record with a 4.40 earned run average, and he's got 26 strikeouts on the season so far. What do you think? Do you think he's going to get it done tomorrow to wrap this series up, or do you think we have a little challenge ahead of us? I mean, of course, tonight didn't go our way either, but lefty on lefty, so you have to look at that as well.
Well, you look at the last time I think we were on a post-game show after the Cardinals lost to the Rockies, you asked me this question, and I said you'd like to think that they're able to take 2 out of 3 against the Rockies, and they didn't. Let's hope that this is not the case. Michael McGreevy looked very good in his last outing against the Rockies, so you hope that he's able to be that stopgap guy for you tomorrow. I mean, the problem is when you have pitchers that pitch to contact, you have guys that you're almost relying on bat to ball luck to a certain extent, right? Not always, but there's always going to be a certain extent of that. So you hope that tomorrow Michael McGreevy is able to have his on stuff, and that there's a lot of soft contact, and that the Cardinals can take advantage of that. The offense can get going, and most importantly, that they can hit with runners in scoring position. That's what I want to see more than anything. I'd rather see the Cardinals have 3 hits, but be able to score with runners in scoring position than have 9 hits and nothing to show for it. I'm not sure how many hits they had tonight, but that was the case at the end. They had 6 hits tonight, so would much rather have the run production. So hopefully the Cardinals are able to have a little more batted ball luck and able to create some runs and win 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. And the last thing I'll say about that too, like I said, you take 2 out of 3, and there you go. You're good. You took 2 out of 3. You did what the job is in a series, right? And you're still in the mix. I know the Mets and Reds both won tonight, but I guess we'll have to see what happens.
So Chewy says McGreevy can pitch a shutout, and it won't matter if we can't score. So again, looking at the offense, we talked about that kind of at the beginning of the show. The bats haven't gone completely silent, but they're not as present as we'd like them to be. And he's accurate. I mean, you've got a pitcher out there that could definitely put on a dominant display. And if we don't get runs across the plate or manufacture runs, nothing's going to happen as a result that we want it to go over in the win column.
Yeah, that was the case tonight, but it hasn't been the case over the past week or so. And you've played some good teams in the mix there. But he's right. If you can't hit, you can't score. You would like to think the Cardinals are going to be able to hit against Austin Gomber, who has had his share of struggles this year. Cardinals are 12th in batting average since the trade deadline. Haven't had a lot of power. That's been one of the bigger issues. They continue to search for that. Right now, there's a clear lack of it. They are 27th in baseball since the trade deadline. Since the trade deadline in OPS. So that's the part of the game that they have to figure out is they got to you have to be able to hit for slug a little bit better than they are right now, because that's been a huge area of concern. So if you're able to find a way to do that a little bit more, then hopefully you can continue to trend in the right direction.
Sean of St. Loserville commenting just the other night. The story was sweep the Rockies. Wait, his comment just moved. So I don't know where it went. Where'd it go? Sweep the Rockies or bust, and it's a bust. Well, I mean, you're only looking at 2 games still, and we took one of the 2 so far. So tomorrow, if we sweep, we're going to have a different attitude and different approach. I mean, then the Yankees come to town.
I understand the mindset too, right? I get it, because right now as a fan, you're trying to be convinced as to whether or not you're going to get bought back in, right? I get it. There has been so much frustration around this team as to how terrible they were in July. They were awful in July. There's a lot of frustration, and now they've shown you a little bit of a glimmer of hope, and naturally as a fan, you want to be bought back in, but you also don't want to invest just to get pissed off again. So I understand that. Against a bad team like the Rockies, I get the whole sweep or bust. I understand that. What I'm saying is that that's not how Ollie Marmol and the clubhouse are looking at it. It is a day in, day out. Mindset stays the same. The goal is to win series. Obviously, you're trying to win every single game, but the mindset is so much more consistent in the clubhouse than it tends to be for fans. We're trying, like I said, the fan is trying to be convinced right now to get bought back in. The team has never not been bought in. That's just how the clubhouse is. They're constantly invested in it. I'll tell you this much: the issue isn't the heart and the effort and the scrap that they play with. Right? It's the lack of talent. It's a young team that's still trying to find their way. They're trying to figure out what the core is, and in the midst of that, you're going to have some bumps in the road. And tonight was a nice little bump, getting shut out by a bad baseball team.
So you talked about the standings earlier, and the teams that won. Cardinals now 4 games back, but then San Francisco's right there 5 back, just 1 game behind the Birds. Arizona 6.5, and Miami 7, and then you jump down to Atlanta, who's 13 out. So there is a little bit of those tighter games there. Cincinnati 2, and then you're looking at 3, 3.5, 4, 5 games. So it just kind of goes up from there. But with a couple of teams on your tail, again, not expectations this season to even be in this position where we were at, or even to go on to the playoffs. It wasn't bound to be a destined playoff team. We talked about rebuilding. We talked about reshaping. But even to have the contention they're in right now at the beginning of the season, I have to admit, it didn't look very good. It looked like it was going to just not be a good situation for the Birds, even worse than what they're in now, considering from a fan base. But again, taking a lot of positives away, I think is a good thing. And I think next year it's only going to improve. I don't think it's going to get worse when we have a change at the helm. So a lot of things to look forward to. And, as hard as it is, I think just continuing to stay positive and trying to look at some of the bright side, like you said, is the best way you can look at it now. Otherwise, it's just going to be a doom and gloom deal. It's
not to say that you can't, when there's issues, call them out. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. We talked for several minutes about the concerns that you are seeing with Matthew Liberatore, and we're not. It's not like you're afraid to state the issues, right? You have to be honest when you evaluate the team. The offense overall hasn't been good enough this year. The pitching has been hot, cold, and they just went through a major 6-week cold stretch. They've been better as of late, but looking at the trend of this team, they go through high stretches, they go through low stretches. So to say that it's going to be high the rest of the year, I think is a little bit unrealistic. I will say this, the schedule is favorable for the Cardinals. They're going to have some opportunity to catch some teams that they're chasing. So there is opportunity. But to expect that this team is going to be smooth sailing the rest of the year, I think is a little bit unrealistic. I'll say this: Cardinals 4 games back of the wild card race right now. If the Cardinals are to remain in this race, it's going to have to do more with how bad the Mets continue to fall out, and I guess the Reds in that case too, but especially the Mets, than it is the Cardinals playing phenomenal baseball to catch them. Because we know that the Mets are a much more talented team on paper. We know that they added at the deadline. We know the pieces that they have on their roster: Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. They have the pieces. So if the Mets get back to playing good baseball like they are expected to, then the Cardinals are not going to be able to keep up, even playing their best ball probably. But if the Mets continue to scuffle, then that allows the Cardinals to have a little bit more life and to, remain in the mix. This is the Cardinals are the peak of the season hasn't changed just because of what the last week has looked like. The Cardinals are still going to likely be a low to mid, probably 80 to 85 wins. It's probably going to be somewhere in there. That's my guess. The Mets, on the other hand, I think people would be surprised if they only won 86 games, even where they are now. Right. So, a lot of time still left to figure out where it goes, but this is going to be much more based around what the Mets do than what the Cardinals do in this final stretch of the last 6 weeks of the year.
So once again, tonight, if you are just joining us, Cards bats blanked by the Colorado Rockies. Final score 3-0 out of Busch Stadium. The lefty Kyle Freeland, absolutely phenomenal for the Rockies. 7 1/3 innings pitched. Libby exiting the game after 4 innings with the 2-run home run that really put the Rockies off to the start for their win tonight. Final thoughts before tomorrow's series wrap up. First pitch scheduled at 1:15 against Busch. At Busch, rather.
You win the series and it's 6 out of 9, and that's against the Cubs, Rockies, and Dodgers. I would take that, and you hope to continue building from there. If you lose tomorrow, you lose all of that momentum that you built with those 2 series wins against the Dodgers and the Cubs. So tomorrow's you have to win tomorrow.
All right. Well, everyone that we had joined us tonight and continue the conversations in the comments section, we appreciate you. If you want to share the conversation, please subscribe, hang out with us more often. We're on 24/7 with all the latest sports news here in St. Louis. Once again, that's Ethan Hannaford. I'm Sara Dayley, along for the ride. We appreciate you being here tonight. We'll see you here right back next time after the Cardinals, hopefully with a series win tomorrow, taking 2 out of 3 from Colorado. Have a good night.